From Ohio's Channel 4 News, serving Ohio for more than a decade, this is Capitol Square from ONN.
Welcome back to Capitol Square, everybody. Candy Crowley, the CNN's senior political correspondent, top guru there, and now the new host of one of our favorite shows, State of the Union, seen each Sunday morning. Candy, good to see you.
It's good to see you.
Hey, let's you and I met each other briefly for the first time all the way back in 1992 at the Republican convention in Houston. Just kind of a perspective here. It seems like that big tent of Ronald Reagan that dominated the 1980s, the 80 election, 84, 88, began to really kind of unravel. In 1992, the fractions, what have you, and Republicans have not been overly successful. They lost that election. They lost in 96. Bush got less votes than Gore did in 2000. Then we see Barack Obama win. I mean, the Republican Party is still trying to put itself together. Is that your sense?
It is still trying to put itself together, but it's not unusual in one sense, and that is every time a party is out of power, there is a lot that goes on. There are factions that want to move into power. In this case, you have the Tea Party, which really is just another iteration of what the problem has been for Republicans for the last year and a half, and that is, do you want to go with the big tent? Do you want to say, let's broaden our base, or do you want the so-called ideological purity? And so you're always going to have that fight in any party that's out of power. And this is the time to do it. They're leading up to a midterm. You've had some experience in Ohio with Tea Party candidates. They are all across the nation. We're having a very interesting leadership meeting of conservatives in Washington, where the Tea Party is very prominent. The head of the Republican Party, Michael Steele, has been meeting with Tea Party activists, trying to figure out how to take all that energy and sort of bring it into the Republican Party without having it split the Republican Party. So yes, I would say that this is the disarray period for Republicans, but they pick up some really good wins in November, and we're not going to be talking about that anymore.
A lot of people are talking about, Candy, 1994 and the parallels. I mean, Scott Brown's election in Massachusetts is probably a tip-off to that, but right. Republicans had not been in control of the House of Representatives at that time for, what, 40 years. Are Americans' memories here, are they going to be erased? I mean, Republicans controlled Washington, the White House, and Congress from 2001 to 2007. Deficits went up. There was never a balanced budget. I mean, will the memory be that short that Republicans will look like a true alternative to the Obama agenda?
I think they will, but here's why. Some of it is just pure numbers, and that is, this is shaping up right now as a very anti-incumbent year. There are more Democratic incumbents running in the House simply because there are more Democrats seated in the House. So they're a larger target. So yes, if you are there and you're one of those voters that goes to the voting booth and says, I don't care who it is, it's just not going to be the guy that's there, that's going to help Republicans. And yes, you're only as good as the last thing you've done for the American public. And when you look at next November, we will be well into the second year of the Obama administration. If you are looking at unemployment rates that nationwide have hovered around the 10% rate, and even the Obama administration thinks that it'll still be around that rate in November, people are going to punish the party in power, and that's the Democrats.
Hey, Katie, very quickly, from the national perspective looking in, Republicans have John Kasich running against an incumbent governor, Ted Strickland, here. They've got Rob Portman, who's got a lot of money in the bank to try to hold that Senate seat of George Voinovich. From a national perspective looking in, if Republicans gain the governor's office in the Buckeye State and they hold that Senate seat, what message does that send to Washington and particularly President Obama as he looks at 2012?
It's huge because, as you know, Ohio has been sort of the crossroads of politics for the past couple of elections. We were talking earlier, I feel like I'm now actually a resident of Ohio because we spend so much time there, because it's a state that's gettable. If you're a Republican, it's gettable. If you're a Democrat, it's gettable. And so if there is a Republican wave that sweeps through Ohio and you're President Obama and you're beginning to look, believe it or not, towards 2012, that would be troublesome for Democrats. Now, look, there's plenty of time, even after an election, if it's a bad election for Democrats, and we don't know that it will be, but it probably won't be a great one for them. We do know that. So there's plenty of time, but Ohio is such a bellwether now. I mean, I'm from Missouri. That always was the bellwether state, and it still is, but Ohio is where everybody now watches because it's become such a crossroads.
CNN's Candy Crowley, State of the Union. Watch it Sunday mornings. We'll see you next week. We'll talk more about the Democrats.